On Christmas morning, there was one gift Caden Stevenson wanted more than anything.
No, you should buy it. It's a really buy.
The excitement was more than this 7-year-old could take.
What? Another BMX bike.
And Santa sure delivered. It wasn't just any bike. It was exactly what Caden had been wishing for.
What'd that say right there? BMX.
And he couldn't wait another second to try it out.
Dude.
But a cough and what seemed like the stomach flu would change everything before he ever had a chance to ride it.
It wasn't anything that alarmed me to say, let me rush him to the urgent care or the emergency room.
Just thought it was
the
flu or...
Right. Just a little stomach bug or, something that maybe he would get over in a couple days. But then, in the course of a couple days, he started developing this pain that just wouldn't go away, and he couldn't get out of the bed. I knew something wasn't right.
Caden had developed a severe infection triggered by the flu and strep A. It was aggressive, damaging his tissue and putting his limbs and his life in danger.
That's when the doctor sat down, looked at me, said, your son is really sick. His right leg was so swollen, they needed to relieve the pressure.
Caden would need to have both legs amputated to survive.
Thank you for praying for me. He cut off my legs, and when I woke up, I see my legs cut off.
Caden is a fighter and has amazed us all with his incredible strength and spirit, learning to move and be independent, and mastering his new wheels as he adapted to his new normal.
Can you get it?
But this summer, his mom noticed there was something her brave little boy simply couldn't do.
He saw them on their bikes and the scooters, and he kind of got sad and stayed close to me, put his head down, and kind of got sad. I got sad because what do? You can't fix it.
It made me left out.
Why's that?
Because I don't have my legs to ride my bike.
Michelle Stevenson put out a call on Facebook asking for help converting Caden's beloved Spider-Mobile into a ride this superhero could operate on his own. She would find an occupational therapist who championed a similar project in Marquette was now just a few miles away, studying at U of M Flint.
Now I'm here doing my doctorate program for occupational therapy.
Kind of feel meant to be?
Yep, yeah. One of those things was put in place for a reason.
The U of M team went to work on a custom dune buggy that would give the Batmobile a run for its money.
We took the car apart, moved all the wires, rerouted them up through the car, and we ended up trying a bunch of different things and settled on just basically putting the foot pedal back underneath the steering wheel.
I'm so sad to drive it.
The car was designed for Caden to do everything on his own.
What do you think?
Cool.
All he has to do is crawl in.
Look at you all by yourself.
Oh yeah, you got it. He's a pro.
So Caden, this is where your pedal is. It used to be your foot pedal. So when you push in on that, it's going to go forward.
Oh, there we go.
Start it up.
Ready?
And hit the road. It's a moment of freedom and fun that every child deserves. Pure joy.
I can't thank y'all enough because y'all didn't have to do it.
The only one smiling bigger than Caden at the test drive?
Y'all are awesome.
His mama, who has made it her mission to help Caden rise above any challenge.
I'm so happy for you.
They like food out like that.
Yeah. It makes me happy just to see the smile on my baby face.
So to have play taken away from you by something that you can't control is a big deal. And then to be able to give that independent play back, he doesn't need help from anybody.
Now he'll have something that he can play with outside that will give him some independence. Plus there's a seat in there. He can have one of his friends in there with him too. So now he can play with his friends and I can take a step back and just let him go.
Well, it was an incredible week for 88-year-old Ronald Gavord and his daughter Tina. Like most of the veterans on the honor flight, it was his first trip to our nation's capital. An emotional visit, 70 years in the making.
How are you doing? I'm good, thank you.
The mission of a lifetime.
So you guys are going to be the red bus?
For a humble hero.
There's some Korean guys here, Dad. I saw a couple already.
Wings are about to carry 75 veterans like Ronald Gavord to Washington, D.C.
We have another veteran, Korean War veteran.
He was only 17 when he enlisted in the U.S. Army in 1953.
All right, thank you.
Now, almost 7 decades later,
It's awesome, really.
a nonprofit group wants to make sure the former staff sergeant sees the war memorial honoring his service.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What they do. So many years have gone by, and bang, here we are, you know.
After taking off from Grand Rapids, another welcome in Washington.
Thank you.
An emotional first day for the veterans.
Colors, hope.
And the volunteers making it all happen.
I've already had one guy that came up to me and said he's a Vietnam veteran and he never felt that his service meant anything until he walked through the flag line at the airport and got the thank yous from the people standing in the flag line. And he said that's 50 years of thinking that his service didn't mean anything to anyone.
Early the next morning, rays of sunshine and the perfect backdrop to see Washington, D.C.
There we go. Thank you. Yeah.
The first stop,
You want to go up there, Dad? Let's go up.
Sure.
the Marine Corps Memorial in Arlington, Virginia.
Wow, that's amazing, isn't it?
A monument far more majestic than any history book could show.
The detail in those statues.
Standing shoulder to shoulder under the gleaming sun.
Right here. Right here.
A snapshot of valor.
All right, Dad. Here we go.
Now it's time for Gavord to revisit a life-changing part of his past.
Welcome to the Korean War Veterans Memorial.
He proudly stands
I'm going to get it.
to go back to the sacred history that brought him all the way from Michigan.
All right.
The same eyes that witnessed a war as a young teenager
Wow.
take it all in.
Did you look like that?
Yeah.
Intricate details of the 8-foot-tall Korean War American soldiers.
Look at all these soldiers.
I know, look at that.
The wind at their backs in a field of service.
Quite accurate. It got the Parker on and got the gear on.
Testaments to the constant combat, brutally cold temperatures, and fights for survival.
Is it hard to look at?
Not really. It reminds you, but it's not that hard. Yeah, it's nice to see it, though.
Gavord thinks of the countless servicemen and women who didn't make it home from war.
They gave a little bit more than we did. They give the ultimate thing. They're not here to enjoy it.
Whether it's the World War II Memorial, the Vietnam Memorial, or the changing of the guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at Arlington National Cemetery. Each of these brave veterans has a story tied to selfless sacrifice and service.
Thank you.
And Gavord says America's history and the wars to protect it are more important than ever.
That's the part that seems to be forgotten, what we're all about.
The best part of his trip? Being able to share it with his only child, Tina.
Very nice, huh?
Yeah, she's not only my daughter, she's my buddy.
I've always been very close with my dad, but you know, he's 88 years old now, and I cherish every moment I have with him. Couldn't have a better date, Dad.
Glad you guys made it back.
And as the Mid-Michigan Honor Flight comes full circle,
Welcome home.
Thank you for your service, Grandpa.
a final surprise.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your service.
God bless.
God bless you too.
For Dan Kildee, the path to a life of public service began as a child, as a volunteer for a campaign that shared his last name and passion for helping Mid-Michigan. U.S. Congressman Dale Kildee, or Uncle Dale.
Yeah, he definitely inspired me. I mean, I was just a kid, really 10 years old, when I first got involved in his campaigns just as a sort of volunteer. And so my introduction to government was through my experiences with him, watching him working on his campaign.
Dan would follow his Uncle Dale's footsteps into a life of public service as a Flint Board of Education member at 18, then Genesee County Commissioner and Treasurer, all after watching and learning from his political mentor, a man who championed civility and kindness regardless of the political debate.
That was unique about him is just what a kind person he always was to everybody. And I came to learn later in life that not everybody in the political world demonstrates that kind of, individual kindness.
It's very rare.
Very unique, yeah. So I hope I learned something from him in that regard.
Kildee succeeded his Uncle Dale in Congress in the 2012 election and says one of his biggest moments in office was standing up for his hometown during the water crisis that put Flint in the national spotlight, calling for a federal investigation of the lead-poisoned water.
The fact that I arrived in Congress just at the time that the Flint water crisis was becoming known put me in a position of advocating for Flint with the federal government at a time when we really needed a voice.
We need to get financial resources so that we can fund that nutritional support, early childhood education, repairing and replacing those lead service lines.
Kildee would help secure $170 million in federal funds to upgrade Flint's water supply system.
Even in divided government, we were able to get really significant help for Flint through the Congress of the United States.
The congressman also fought for 4 years for the release of Flint native and former Marine Amir Hikmati and 4 other Americans from an Iranian prison, and flew to Germany with Hikmati's family to be among the first to greet him and return him to U.S. soil.
It was pretty amazing because I'd gotten to know his family so well and felt like, and I still do feel like I'm a part of that family. So it was a bit like a family reunion, and seeing it and being a part of it was, it's a memory I'll keep with me forever.
Kildee never forgot where he came from, representing the birthplace of General Motors, joining the UAW on the picket line, and standing in solidarity with auto workers throughout his time in office.
And what I kept working on, and still am, is to make sure that we have our share, right here in Flint, Saginaw Bay City area, that we have our share of what the future of the automotive industry will be. That's why I focused a lot on electric vehicles. But then occasionally I have to go to bat for people who get left behind. The Delphi salaried retirees who had their pensions dramatically cut as a result of the bankruptcies, they needed an advocate, and I continue to push for that. I was able to get legislation passed through the House of Representatives to fix that problem. Unfortunately, like a lot of things, it got stalled in the Senate, but we won't give up on that.
And he says he plans to keep fighting for his hometown long after he leaves office.
Standing up for what I think is right, even when it means opposing people that I otherwise have a lot in common with, even opposing a president of my own party. But we still treat one another with respect and with dignity. And, that goes back to the legacy of my uncle. I hope that that's part of my legacy, too.
The Flint native hopes to be remembered in D.C. as a tireless advocate for Mid-Michigan, who worked to bring the same civility and kindness his uncle once did to a legislature that is now deeply divided. In Flint, Angie Hendershot, ABC 12 News. One look at this lead sled slip-sliding down the road, and you're sure to stop and stare. Maybe it's the color, crimson romance, complete with gold undertones that glow in the sun.
If you had to characterize this car's story, how would you characterize it?
Unusual.
Or the fact that you won't see another 53 Bel Air like it.
And I've changed just about everything on the car. It's chopped 3 inches, sunk the top, 56 Packard taillights. Skirts are handmade, headlights are Frenched and sunk. Just a lot of little custom tricks that I picked up over the years.
A 2-door hardtop and true beauty, born from the elbow grease and imagination of Mike Neely, a gearhead who grew up in Flint and has had his head under the hood of a car since he was about 9 years old.
Work on them in the backyard, pulling motors with a limb of a tree and stuff like that.
He custom built the most famous car at Back to the Bricks. Its image is all over town, and Mike's just hoping for a good spot.
I believe they'll have us on the flat lot this year.
But the headline in this car's incredible story is that it almost didn't make it out of the garage.
it was a friend of mine that bought the car, and he was going to customize it. And he lost courage, I should say.
Mike told his friend he would put in an hour working on the Bel Air for every hour his friend helped him in the garage. His friend never showed.
So I pushed it over into a corner, put all the parts inside of it, and covered it up. It sat there for 23 years.
23 years later, his friend would turn the keys over to him. Mike would overhaul the interior and exterior and create a work of art.
Guys don't think they have the courage or the knowledge to be able to build one, and they always want to do it, but they pick up one and then it sits in their garage and it gets covered up and forgotten for years, and some of them come out, some of them don't.
This one did come out because courage is something Mike found out he had a lot of for building cars and rebuilding his life after a fateful day while serving our country in Vietnam.
I did lose quite a few buddies over there, but I don't talk about it too much.
He would step on a landmine and lose his legs. Mike says he laid in a rice field with bullets flying all around him and thought he was going to die. Instead, he found a new way to live.
Losing my legs made me grow up. When I was younger, I would have just as soon been dead as be without a hand or an arm or anything else. But when I lost my legs and I was put into the ward there in Concord, California, and there's 70 other patients in that ward, and every one of them just about are worse than you. As a result of that, you see what they can do. You can't feel sorry for yourself. So you end up waking up, growing up, and getting the job done, whatever you have to do.
For Mike, that meant returning to his first love, working in Flint garages doing body work, then starting his own business, Russellville Auto Center. He tried wearing prosthetic legs, but found in the garage, they just got in the way.
They were too cumbersome, and you're getting around these old cars, you scratch them and bend them, and then I just set them aside and never went back to them.
Mike would use his skills to customize cars for the eye and to adapt vehicles so he could drive just about anything without his legs. And he shrugs it all off like it was all in a day's work.
I don't consider myself nothing special or an inspiration. I just have a handicap that I have to deal with, and it's just part of my life, and I don't consider it special.
But Mike Neely's legacy is pretty special. This year, Back to the Bricks will highlight his 53 Bel Air and also the man who not only has a long history of building cool cars, but helping others find the courage to put their dreams on the road. At the time of Taylor's birth, like so many parents, his mother was told the long-term impact of lead exposure was unknown. Now, as a second grader, we're beginning to see some of the effects. But we've also seen year after year incredible growth and the difference that can be made with early intervention and a mother's sheer will.
Awesome. Luke.
On a sunny afternoon in Flint.
Almost. Let's try that one more time.
Taylor Williams is working on something that's a rite of passage for most young students.
Not bad. Let's try it again.
Writing his name.
Awesome. So when he comes to my room, he's practiced on a big board on how to spell his name, first and last name. And so he's done well. He's not there all the way, but he's doing absolutely well as to where he was before.
It takes patience, determination, and the ability to sit still.
Awesome.
Tough for any 8-year-old boy.
Awesome.
But this is a moment that when Taylor was born, his mother, Tyantha, could only dream about.
It's just an everyday thing that you have to keep going every day with him.
How do you keep going?
Looking at him every morning. I'm happy.
Makes it worth it.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine when you see Taylor talking, laughing, and learning as a second grader.
Look at that work of art.
His smile lights up the room. But a few years ago, his development was so delayed, he struggled to speak.
Amazed. And I'm happy that he's doing more talking than he should. He just talks.
Tyantha didn't know what the future would look like for her son, and her concerns started before he was even born.
I didn't know about the water.
She was pregnant with Taylor when she learned the water she had been using every day was tainted with lead.
I didn't know anything. I was drinking it, cooking with it, bathing in it.
Like many women exposed to lead, Tyantha would go into labor way too early. We met her and Taylor at Hurley's neonatal intensive care unit when he was born at just 28 weeks.
I'm just happy to be alive.
Taylor would stop breathing 3 times. They didn't know if he would survive.
I thought that I would hear him crying, but I didn't hear him crying at all.
We pray for him all the time.
Pray because it was unclear what the future would bring. From him beginning to breathe on his own.
He goes to sleep at night. I still watch him to make sure he's still breathing. That's a constant thing for me.
To learning to crawl and stand.
They want to keep monitoring him. He still has to have growth tests.
Babies born during the water crisis, like Taylor, face the highest risk of lead exposure and developmental delays. We have followed his journey since birth, overcoming muscle weakness to walk.
He falls a lot, having problems with his knee and his ankle, in his speech. Show me your nose.
Nose?
Working with speech therapists to catch up on his developmental milestone.
He should be talking at 3. He should be holding conversations with you. He should be holding sentences. He's not doing that right now.
Tyantha spent most of his life watching, worrying, and working to help Taylor overcome whatever challenge he may face.
Caramel, please.
He would begin talking at age 4 while enrolled in EduCare, an early childhood center built to help the children facing the highest exposure and risk of lead's effects.
I got milk.
Yes, you do.
I got milk. Because I told you I passed it.
And the same boy who once had trouble stringing sentences together would begin to shine.
Hello, judges. My name is Taylor Dies with the Words.
After years of therapy, hard work, and faith.
What are your hopes, if we talk to you next year?
I hope Taylor can come up here and talk to you. Let him, that'll be the light. That's the goal.
You remember that? You were able to talk to me much.
A goal achieved.
School is to learn and not play.
This year, Taylor gave me his own progress report.
I can get A's or S's. S's are good. N's are I need help.
Taylor Wilson Williams.
Last spring, Taylor graduated from 1st grade and most importantly was catching up to his grade level.
He's come a long way and he's doing better, growing every day.
Now, as a 2nd grader at Durant Turing Mott, he's getting one-on-one help with a behavioral specialist to try to close the gap.
If I see a need that's out there, my job is to turn that around.
I would say he's maybe at 1st grade, 6-7 months. So he's almost at grade level.
So now we can go back to our math.
Ms. McKenzie has a classroom full of students who were born during the water crisis.
Some of the students are just now showing signs of it.
She has seen firsthand how it can impact their ability to think, to learn, and behave in a classroom.
What number did you get, Taylor?
34.
How many got 34? Okay, everybody got it correct.
Reading is one. Developmentally for sounds, words, stringing the words together, the writing skills.
Fidgety things, not understanding, comprehension. Having a one-on-one, it helps the kids tremendously.
All right, so what we gonna do is...
This year, Taylor was diagnosed with ADHD, which studies have linked to lead exposure.
I don't want him on medication.
But Miss Kim not only helps Taylor with his penmanship, she teaches him how to slow down and control his emotions.
If I get so angry, I take 3 deep breaths.
Well, I do things as well as other behavior specialists to make sure that kids are able to manage emotions.
For Taylor, the lessons don't stop when the bell rings.
How was school today?
It was good.
It was good. What you do?
Tyantha is still working to help him rise above any challenges he may face.
I'm still helping him focus. I have a chart on the refrigerator with things that he has to do in the morning, and he's starting to remember.
Despite Taylor's progress, the effects of drinking Flint's lead-tainted water linger.
I asked my mom what I can build, and she says, anything that I can build.
Nice. Gives you your imagination, huh?
Yep. There are still plenty of fears about what the future looks like.
And Mommy's gonna take care of you and be there for you. And whatever you need, Mommy's here.
So much has changed as we've watched Taylor grow year after year, but one thing has remained the same since he was born into the water crisis.
What goes through your mind when you look at him?
Hope.
The sheer power of a mother's love, early intervention, and faith.
Awesome.
And thanks to the resources now available to the children impacted by the Flint water crisis, there is plenty of reason to hope. You can follow all of Taylor's triumphs and challenges over the years. We have been covering his story since birth, and you can find all of our Born into Crisis stories on abc12.com and YouTube. Angie Hendershot, ABC 12 News.